Hey guys, it's your girl DJ Sims and welcome back to Chat and Vibes podcast. And in today's episode, I'm super excited because I'm actually back with Fitness with Keisha. We've actually recently done an episode all about PCOS and endometriosis, so if you haven't already seen, go check that out on my channel. But in today's episode, I'm back with Keisha.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually really excited for this episode.
So am I. So for those that don't know, Keisha is pregnant. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And in today's episode, I actually just really wanted to touch on like all things pregnancy, again, like touch on the women's health, and I thought it would be really nice to obviously have you back on.
Yeah, of course.
So recently I saw you did a post, and obviously for those again I don't know, like Keisha has PCOS and she's grown up having PCOS. So you did do a post recently that you were told as you were growing up that, you know, you can't fall pregnant because of you having PCOS.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about first, did that affect you mentally and how did you kind of deal with that?
So at that age, it actually didn't affect me when I was told, because I was like, ugh, kids, I don't really want them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway.
It doesn't really matter anyway right now. But as I actually got older, got into relationships, I actually started thinking about these things, and it did affect me quite a bit, especially knowing that, because when I was told so firmly, like, hey, you're not going to be able to have children. You might as well want to come back to get on the IVF list and stuff like that. It's not going to be easy and you won't be able to conceive naturally. So I think those things can really stick around in a person's mind, and they did for me.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it must have been really hard growing up hearing that. Like, not necessarily when you were much younger, but as you kind of grow up and were told that, it must have been hard to kind of take. But would you say you believed it?
I did believe it to an extent. However, until I started learning a lot more about my own body, learning a lot more about PCOS and how it can be managed holistically, I started realizing that, hey, do you know what? Our bodies are so amazing. They are so magical as women, especially, that we can do anything. And if that means that we can manage our hormones holistically, take care of our mental health, and really make changes to our lifestyle, I'm pretty sure pregnancy will be possible too.
I feel like you're a prime example that for women with PCOS endometriosis that you can get pregnant, which is just amazing. And I love how open you are about it as well. But do you have any advice for women who do have PCOS or endometriosis that have been told, you know, you can't get pregnant, or they have worries of not getting pregnant? Would you have any advice for how they can have like a healthy lifestyle in terms of getting pregnant?
Yeah, so if upon diagnosis, and that's just simple diagnosis of PCOS, you know, you've been told, hey, you have PCOS, by the way, come back to us when you want to get pregnant because it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
That's not true. And I think that in itself, don't let that, you know, write pregnancy off in your mind, and don't let it bring you down. That was something that it did for me for a long time, and something that I found was taking care of my nutrition and finding balance within that, getting good movement in that I enjoyed, not necessarily always in the gym as well. If that meant swimming, if that meant going out for walks, just keeping my activity levels up, that helped a lot. And the other thing was maintaining my stress levels. I cannot stress this enough, ironically, but managing your stress levels are so important. It's just for your, you know, mental health, for your hormones, if you're trying to conceive. And I know that if you are trying to conceive, it can be tough not to get stressed out, but it is one of those key factors.
So obviously you're running a business, you're living, you're currently living alone with your partner. Like, it must be really hard to manage all of these things, and now you're pregnant. How do you cope with all of it? How do you manage it? Do you have daily routines that you follow? Like, what would your advice be to just managing all of it?
So first things first, we have a really good team at Fitness with Keisha, and honestly, kudos to them, because if it wasn't for the team of coaches that we have, I think it would be really tough for me to manage everything myself. But yeah, I do have a routine. You know, I tend to wake up quite early. I am a morning person. So I wake up quite early. I try and get myself ready first. I also prefer training in the morning or early afternoon. So I get a little bit of me out of the way. So I work on myself in the day, and then I'm able to totally dedicate myself to work and clients. In the first trimester, I did find it really hard to focus on anything. That's when I first saw you, actually, for our last episode.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was feeling nauseous. I could fall asleep absolutely anywhere. But now I'm in my second trimester, like, energy levels and everything is picking up. So it's actually quite helpful.
Yeah. That's actually really, like, I didn't, 'cause I remember last time, like, obviously I knew you were pregnant, but like, I didn't know that you like were probably going through like loads of like symptoms, like nausea, like I personally, I would find it so hard to just keep everything running, but like, kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
So a couple of months ago, you were very, very open about your miscarriage, and honestly, like, it's amazing that you're pregnant now, but a lot of people might be going through a similar situation where they miscarry, and it's obviously very, very hard to cope with. How did you mentally cope with finding that out, and how was that?
Yeah, so miscarriage was really tough, because I think for me, the first time I was pregnant, I didn't really expect that. You know, a lot of the time you see on social media, someone finds out they're pregnant, they share it. It's like just a really happy moment. And it continues to go on really well. You never really think it's going to happen to you until it does. So when I did end up having a miscarriage, I actually didn't know. I ended up having a missed miscarriage, which is basically when the pregnancy stops but your body hasn't recognized it yet. So we actually ended up going for our 12-week scan, and we had just seen that the baby had stopped growing, there was no more heartbeat, and that was the worst thing, because we were actually vlogging everything. So we actually had taken a camera into the scan to vlog all of that, and I was like, I think me and my partner were just like so thrown off. And I just remember texting my friend like there and then, and I was like, oh, like, it's not looking good. Like, and I had a pit in my throat, like, just constantly. But what's funny is, after I got home, I then noticed blood, which is nuts, because it's like, okay, finally my brain caught up with my body and was like, okay, the miscarriage is starting now. I actually went through that entire miscarriage at home. So probably a bit of a trigger warning on this, but like, to the point that I went through the entire miscarriage, and I ended up seeing what you would say, like, the baby, I suppose. And it was like the size of my palm, and I like saw it, but what can you do at that point? You can't do anything besides from flush it down the toilet. So it was really rough, that part.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole going through that and knowing that you can't do anything with it, you have to just, I guess, as you said, flush it. That must have been very hard.
It was really hard. And I think that it set me to have a little bit of a guard up, at least for my first trimester of this pregnancy. I found it very hard to attach myself to what was happening, just because I knew what was possible. So I didn't talk about my pregnancy in my first trimester, and announced it when I was in my second.
Was there a point after your miscarriage where you felt like just giving up, especially knowing that you have PCOS and unfortunately you went through the miscarriage? Was there a point where you were like, do you know what, I just want to give up? Like,
to be honest, not really. I think what I reminded myself was that there like a lot of women go through miscarriages, and unfortunately we just don't speak about it. And I really don't know why, because it's such a normal thing. And I know, especially coming from, you know, an Asian community, we don't tend to speak about it. It's kind of like not frowned upon, but no one really says anything. So what I found was, after speaking about my miscarriage on social media, so many other women had gone through it too, and there were so many success stories as well for people ending up having their rainbow babies, which is why we have that term. So I was very confident that I knew it would happen. I just had to focus on myself, keep my stress levels low, take great care of myself, my partner take great care of himself, focus on exercise and just things that I enjoy, and then it happened. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad it worked out for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there that element? So obviously pregnancy after miscarriage, I feel like there is that element of fear. And I actually see a lot of people speaking like about this on TikTok as well. And I've seen you speak a lot about it as well. So is there the element of fear and the unknown of like what could happen?
Yeah, I remember when I saw that first positive pregnancy test after the miscarriage for this baby, my first words were, oh, like, fuck, you're probably gonna have to beep that out. But those were my first words. And it wasn't even excitement. I was just like, oh crap, like, here I am again. How's this gonna go, you know? So I did have that sense of fear. However, I just constantly and consistently reminded myself that, Keisha, like, you've just got to take each day as it comes, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But if you take care of you, I still meditate every night. I still make a lot of self-care time, and that's all that matters, and it will help.
Yeah. So being Asian and going through that miscarriage, it is a taboo topic, so well done for speaking up about it. But obviously, I feel like people just choose not to speak up about it, which can make people feel really alone, especially women who are going through it. Do you feel like people avoid these topics online?
I think so, yes. However, it's totally understandable as well if you want to avoid it, because you don't always want to talk about these things. I do feel, though, however, if you have a platform, it's totally up to you how you choose to, use it. If you don't talk about your miscarriage, that's okay. If you do talk about your miscarriage, that too is okay. So I think regardless of it being taboo, I feel like it's just something that should be accepted, because it's actually very common.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know what the right statistic is, but I think there is a statistic on how many people go through a miscarriage.
I think it's around 1 in 3 pregnancies
so
end in miscarriage.
It's actually more common than we know. It's just, I guess, again, not spoken about understandably.
Yeah.
Even you being open about your pregnancy now, I think some people in the Asian community might think, oh, that's a bit too much, like maybe she's oversharing. Have you experienced any of like negativity or even hate? Or not that you should be, but have you experienced that?
So I have a few times. I won't touch on what the comments were about. However, I did just really quickly just delete and block it, because at the end of the day, I mean, like, I just feel like I don't have the energy to entertain anybody who has the actual time to drop hate. Because, I mean, you must be really bored, right?
Yeah.
So I just,
especially
deleted it.
It's such a positive thing in your life. You're not going to want that to knock you down.
Like, I'm happy. Like, you do you. If you guys want to get pregnant, please go for it. But, that's you. That's your life, and I'm going to live my life.
Especially with your platform. Yeah. Being a women's coach, I think it's so important that you do talk about these things.
Yeah, and I so much love out there. Honestly, the only hate comments I got were from men. But that's fine. Yeah. Like, my audience is predominantly women, and I want to continue helping them in whatever their goals are.
Yeah. I actually saw you did a TikTok as well recently about, going to midwife appointments, and you must have so many now scans and hospital appointments. Have you had an encounter where there's been like a racial thing against you in a midwife appointment?
Yeah, funny you bring that up. I uploaded a TikTok the other day. So I went for my 16-week scan, and before this I had a midwife appointment, and that went so well. I really liked my midwife that I saw that day. However, I do understand that the NHS is under pressure, so they have to rotate the midwives that they have on duty, and like sometimes you're not always seeing the same person. Once I got into my midwife appointment, if anyone, I'm not going to go through the entire like scenario because it's too long to talk about. However, if anyone wanted to catch up on that, it's on my page. But the racial part that you were talking about, the midwife that I was seeing asked me, she was like, what's your heritage? Because they have to do that. And I was like, oh, I'm Indian. And then she said, okay, she was like, well, you people tend to have low iron levels, and that's because of the food that you people eat. For example, at home you make a lot of curries, and constantly eating lots of curries just means that you're basically killing all the nutrients in that food. And I was just thrown off. I was thrown off at you people. In my head was already like, kind of, when you're a bit shocked, like you're taken aback, you can't actually speak. That's how it felt, and I didn't really say anything at that point, also because she told me that I had this thing called low Papa A, which is quite common. So after a miscarriage, I'm constantly just thinking about the baby, but then at the same time she was talking to me in such a standoffish way the whole appointment. I just felt uncomfortable, and I don't think that's how someone wants to feel at their midwife appointment.
100%. No, like honestly, it really shocked me. Like when I saw you uploaded something about that, I was like, oh my God, it shocks me because I'm like, you want to be reassured at your appointments. So sorry I had to go through that.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's honestly crazy. Like, honestly, again, hats off to you speaking up about it as well. I think for women who are going to midwife appointments, they might not have the same one, and that's okay. Like, I think, you want to get used to the same midwife, but if you can't because of circumstances like the NHS are under a lot of pressure, I think it's good for women to know that you might not have the same midwife and there might be different ones, and I guess to not take it home with you and just leave it there.
But also I think the thing that's really important is no matter how much pressure anyone is under, I think recognizing that just general kindness is totally free. It takes no extra time. 100%. So in fact, if you can end up having an appointment or a confrontation with someone which is just full of love and kindness, that just makes so much more sense than putting out energy that another person would maybe not want to receive.
Yeah, definitely. So for any women who are going through a pregnancy after loss and their rainbow baby, do you have any advice for them feeling alone? Especially, they might get worried all the time and have that constant fear. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, so first things first, if anyone wanted to reach out and talk to someone, my DMs are totally open. I actually respond to a lot of DMs. So if anybody wanted to, reach out, they can. The other thing that I would say is just try and take every day as it comes. I know that there will be moments where you'll be filled with tons of anxiety, but find activities that you enjoy, whether that be going for a walk, doing a bit of meditation. I actually use the Calm app at the moment. So every night before I go to bed, I do a bit of meditation. If I feel anxious, I do a bit of meditation. I just find that it just allows me to calm down. And yeah, just take really good care of yourself. Take every day as it comes.
And any advice for women who do have PCOS and endometriosis who are trying to maintain a healthy pregnancy? What would your top tips be for them? Yeah, so try and maintain a high protein diet. It's going to be beneficial to you and your growing baby. The other thing that I would say is try and stay as active as possible, going for walks. In my first trimester, I had really bad sciatica. So I actually stopped going to the gym in the first trimester. I was walking quite a bit and I was doing some yoga, and that really helped. So try and do little movements that you enjoy that will help your body at the moment, because it's going through so many hormonal changes. So you want to take it, take each day as it comes. Your body is basically using up a lot of energy to grow this new human being and doing so many magical things. So take each day as it comes. Try and eat well, keep your stress levels down, and yeah, just do whatever you like that makes you happy. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And when are you due? So I'm due September the 18th. However, there is a chance that the baby will be born a little bit earlier, but I'm hoping that because of this low Papa A thing that I have, it just keeps going well. Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm so excited for you and your journey, and to finally meet the baby when he or she is born. And thank you so much for joining me today to speak about your experiences. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.